Worst experience when I nearly had to protect our team against a child suicide bomber.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another 31-minute podcast. I have a very special guest today. Well, we know him very well, but I appreciate you coming in. Chad Elliott.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. So I've got 1,000 questions to ask you today. So tell us, I'm not a military person, so I don't really understand the levels of things.
Yep.
But I found it really interesting the other day when you said the qualification process to get to where you were.
Yep.
So for the normal, a lot of normal people watch this, listen to this. So tell us how the military works and what level were you when you qualified?
Okay, so basically when I finished off, I was in 4 Commando Special Forces.
Yep.
I was counter-terrorism trained. I was a team medic.
Yeah.
Heavy weapons. I did 3 tours of Afghanistan and also deployed the coup in Fiji.
Yeah, right.
So it sort of started off with just wanting to. I always wanted to get into Special Forces, but obviously it's pretty hard.
So I'm going to jump in one sec just so I can make sure everyone keeps up with this. So when you jump in, what's a private?
A private. So basically when you start off, you're a private.
Okay, so so if I went and joined the army today, would I just start as a private?
You would, unless you went in and did officer training.
Okay.
Then you'd be a lieutenant.
A lieutenant.
Yeah.
So then do you work your way up within the army or do you so to get to a special forces,
Yep.
I'm assuming that's the elite of the elite. Yep. Do people work their way up to that?
So you can go into Special Forces as a private.
Yep.
But there's a really strict psychological and physical criteria.
Broccoli wouldn't make that then.
Well, I don't know, maybe. And, they're basically weeding out people who don't have the mental toughness and the physical toughness, integrity. There's so many qualities they're looking for. Mm-hmm.
So how did you join? Did you just sign up one day sitting at home bored? Or what was the decision making around it?
I always wanted to be in Special Forces.
Okay.
Ever since I was a little kid, I used to run around the bush chasing feral cats and bows and arrows. So I was really into it when I was a kid. And I was a real military history buff. And so I actually did an apprenticeship as an auto electrician. And I got to the point where I just had enough. So I just quickly...
Auto electrician out of the army or in the army? Yeah.
Out of the army. That was just an error.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to get into the army, and the only way to get in there was to finish my apprenticeship quickly. So I actually studied even harder so I could finish it before the normal time frame. So I went and did the recruitment, and they didn't have any positions for infantry. So normally you go infantry first, get to a battalion, and then you can try out for Special Forces.
Right. So infantry is on the guns?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're basically frontline.
Frontline.
soldier.
Yeah. So you just went in and tried to get the hardest spot in the army, just
that's what I wanted.
Out shooting people out the front. Yeah.
They didn't have any positions open. So, but then they had this new scheme. It was called the Direct Recruitment Scheme, and it just first started when I went there. And they said there's no infantry roles available, but you could actually go in for this direct recruitment into Special Forces. So they're trying to recruit civilians with extra skills. There was like doctors and physios, really intelligent guys.
That were all signing up for it?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I actually went through with a doctor, and he was just a private as well. But they tested us at a higher level. So we were actually tested at the officer level, even though we just went in as privates. And we did that. There was 5,000 people who applied, and
so 5,000 that tried.
Yeah.
So 5,000 joined up. That's a lot of crazy people.
Yeah, a lot of crazy people. And then I found out how many more crazy people there are who actually got in.
Really?
Yeah, and they just got weeded out just because physically they tested well, and in the interview they tested well, but they just didn't have the mental toughness there.
Yep. So what happens? Sorry to jump in. What happens? So you sign up, you go in, and then they put you through this qualifying
Yeah, so you got to do your basic training, your infantry training, which everyone does. Then we did another course to sort of prepare us for Special Forces selection. And then you do Special Forces selection, which goes for 30 days. And it's basically minimal sleep, minimal food, just getting whipped around the clock. And that's where they weed out most people.
Right. So what happens in a normal day there? Like when you say minimal sleep, I mean, you talk about it like it's just, normal day at work, but it's like, what would actually that be?
Oh, well, you get up very early in the morning. So depending on what course you're doing, they might get you up at 2 o'clock in the morning and get you to jump in Sydney Harbour.
Really?
Yeah, in the winter. And you got to swim around there with the sharks and stuff. So that's just the start to your day. And then they actually really start to hammer you with the sort of testing using your mental aptitude and see how many people can hack it and with minimal sleep.
So you just don't sleep much, and then you got to perform, swim around with sharks in the morning,
Yeah, and
then get out, and then what do you do?
Then it's just then you've got to learn all about a new weapon system, for example.
Right.
And you have to remember it. Here's a foreign weapon. This is how you pull it apart. This is how you use it. Blah 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 blah. Half an hour. Now do it all. And if you don't do it, there's a X across your name.
Is there?
Yeah. Yeah, so they're not shy about cutting people. As soon as if they don't like you,
gone.
And so every day there's something different, and they'll give you tests to make you break because everyone's got a breaking point.
Yeah,
but they'll just keep on pushing it further and further until you eventually break. But they see how you handle it when you break, whether you take it out on your teammates or whether you just fall on the ground crying or.
So how do they make you break? Just like keep you up or push you to the extreme where you just can't take any more?
Just everything. So there'll be no sleep, there'll be no food. Then you'll be out in the middle of the bush in 40-degree days in the middle of summer, carrying logs all day on your shoulder. Then they'll be hitting you with. You need to be navigating while you're doing that with people chasing you.
Really?
Yeah, just all stuff like that.
Just relentless. So is this in the 30-day block or is this just in general?
That's in the 30-day block, so that's a selection. So then they get a good idea of who can make it to the next level. So once you pass that, you don't get your beret. You're not an SF soldier then.
Right. So how many people would have got through that 30 days? Half?
Less than half.
Really?
Yeah. But that weeds out a good proportion of it. But then you go into, it's called your reinforcement cycle. And then that's when you start doing, so you got to do your parachuting course. You lose heaps of people injury on that. So a lot of people don't like jumping out of planes. Then you go into your Amfib course, demolitions. You do your specialty courses. I said I was a medic. You do counter-terrorism. There's more in there. I'm just can't remember them.
So can I drill down on that for a minute? Yeah. So when you do your parachuting course or your parachuting thing, so is this a qualifying thing, or are they just teaching you how to do it, or is you got to qualify? So is that like when you say people didn't like jumping on it? Do they just like not want to do it because of that, or is it like? Or is it just scary? Or
there's a lot of people
I know how you gloss over it like it's like, oh yeah, we just did this and this and this. Yeah. But I know because I know you personally because you're quite a humble person. But like, how long does that all go for? Like you got your parachuting, your Amfib course. Is that after the 30 days?
Yeah.
And then how long does all that go for?
You're looking at about another year and a half.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So you just talk like it's a week's course, but it's like another year and a half after that. So when you say your Amfib course, what is that?
You might have seen the guys driving around in Pearl Beach on all the Zodiacs. That's usually where we go to do it. So you basically you post on Cockatoo Island in middle of Sydney Harbour, and I was saying that's where you get 2 sets of cams. And one set is always wet, and they'll wake you up in the...
Cams is camouflage suit?
Yeah, uniform. And this is probably one of the worst things. You'd wake up in the morning and you got to jump in the water, and it's either do you keep your nice warm ones on for a couple minutes more, or do you get back into wet clothes and jump into the Sydney Harbour?
What did you choose?
I put the wet ones back on.
Really?
Yeah, so you've got dry clothes to sleep in at night.
Okay. Did some people wear the dry ones?
They did, and they regretted it.
Did they? Broccoli would have wore his onesie. Yeah. So what did you do when you jump in the water? So you're on Cockatoo Island. I know where that is. It's like Sharkville out there. Like I don't think anyone in their right mind would swim out there. But yeah, like so you just jump in, and what do you do then?
You just go swim around the island like 4 times or something. And now I know how many bull sharks.
Oh, there's so many sharks out there. So many. So was this in the morning, like early, or was it at night, or was it
2-3 o'clock in the morning?
Really?
Yeah, wow. Worst time.
Yeah, wow. So tell me about your mind when you're doing all this. I really want to hear about the rest, because I know how many people made it at the end, which is pretty amazing. But so what's going through your mind in times like this?
Just doing what you have to do, what I had to do to get through it.
What are you saying to yourself? And one of the reasons I want to relate to this is when the market changes, agents think the whole world's going to stop.
Yeah.
And that starts playing with their mind that, people aren't buying property as much, and that's nothing like swimming with sharks around Cockatoo Island. But what are you saying to yourself that from the moment you get up, well, for one, I guess you don't want to get up for a start. Like if it's 2 a.m, and you're tired already, and you've got to put wet clothes on, and then jump in the harbour and swim around, and tell me about it.
Well, you're talking about mental toughness here, and in my situation, I just looked at it as there's no way I'm failing this. Like, I have to get this qualification. I have to get this beret. It's the only thing I want in life. That's all it was for me at that stage.
Really? So that one objective overrid everything.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I couldn't imagine not getting it. I didn't know what I would do without that.
And why did that mean so much to you? Like, what was that driver?
I think that all came back to when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It was just all I could picture. And it's going to sound weird, but I had to experience combat in my life.
Really?
I couldn't.
Like go to war?
Go to war.
You were that keen to go?
I was that keen to go to war.
Yeah, right.
I just wanted to experience it and know what it was like.
Yeah, gee.
And that was the only way I was going to get
And what was the driver for that? Was it just you were just thrilled by the thrust of it all, or the excitement of it all, or
I think
running around with bullets everywhere? I don't know.
It's an adrenaline rush that
just in you.
Yeah. It's just so different.
It's like broccoli with his bacon and eggs in the morning. It's the same sort of feeling, isn't it?
Well, I can see
bacon and eggs.
Its face lights up.
Okay, so when you're swimming around the island and it's dark, and did you ever think, I know you said you don't want to give up. Was there any time that you wanted to? No, none. No. You're just going to do it. Whatever they said, you're just going to do. What about when you had no energy left and no sleep and no whatever? How did you draw on more energy?
That was just the mental toughness of wanting it.
There
was times. I remember you do a...
Sorry, did you have your shoes on when you're swimming around?
You had boots on.
Boots on, wow. So you had the full suit and boots.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's how I trained to get in. I used to go every morning. I'd put like a pair of tracksuits on and a big jumper and my boots, and I'd go to the pool and swim 4 kilometres every morning.
Who's that guy swimming in his clothes?
Everyone thought I was free. Yeah. I had to tell them so they could tell people. And they're okay, I get it.
Yeah. Sorry. And the mental, I'm really interested to know the mental talk. Like, I know you just wanted to do it, but like, obviously, did you think of sharks? Did you think of...
I thought about them.
Yeah.
But the idea of quitting and being the one to put my hand up and say, I'm out, was way worse than sharks to me.
So you really are the epitome. You see those motivational things that says never quit or never give up, or what, you never fail. You only fail if you quit. You really are the advertisement for that.
Well, I think everyone probably has that in them. You just got to find what it is they want in life to go for that.
So I want to hear the rest, but if someone's struggling right now, I get a lot of messages from people who are just struggling in general, like with life, with work, with things, whatever. Like, what would you say to those people? Like, what would you say? They're on the brink of like, oh, this is too hard. You know, I know it's easy to say don't give up, but how do you draw from that special sauce inside of you?
I think maybe if you just look at, do you want to fail in life? Like, I know things are hard, but if you just push through it, and there always is, you know, light at the end of the tunnel, as lame as that sounds.
Yeah.
But, you know, are things really that bad? You know, you can always get another job. You can always hustle more. And, you know, like with agents, I'm sure if you get out there, if the market's slow, you've probably got more time on your hands. So you got more time to go and, you know.
So it's how you look at
yourself.
it? Yeah. So on that, when you're swimming around I find that intriguing because like when you're on a boat in the harbour, I often look at it because I surfed most of my life. I look at that water and I'm like, no. Yeah, and I'm not really scared of sharks or anything, but in there I am. And like, so is it the vision, like, so the vision from when you were young to the vision, did you just picture yourself finishing the swim or did you picture yourself with the beret on? Like what was the bigger vision there?
I pictured myself at the end line with the beret.
With the beret?
Being in the unit, deploying.
Right. And you had to do whatever you had to do along the way, which is like an ideal day, I guess. Doesn't matter what was in it. You were just going to tick that box as, 110%. So if you had no energy, was there any times when you just had nothing left to give?
Yeah, and you're dragging yourself along the ground.
Yeah, right.
But they would see what you're doing. And it's not like, oh, you're done. You got no energy. See you later. They look at you're still going. Because as I said, everyone's got a breaking point.
Yeah.
It's just
Did you break at all?
Physically, yeah.
Yeah.
Not mentally.
Really?
So if mentally I broke, I wouldn't have ever done any of this stuff.
Wow. So the year and a half, you got all these different things. Yeah. So then what happens?
You get put into a company. So I got put into Bravo company the first time. And
as a special forces?
Yeah, so it's a full special forces.
So at the end of the year and a half, do you get your beret then?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Get given that.
So how did that feel for you?
That was great.
Was it?
Yeah, it was.
Did the beret fit properly?
Yeah.
Yeah,
they said I sent you a photo.
Yeah, I posted it. People, yeah, you don't use social media, but
no.
It's, yeah, I posted it yesterday. It's
you can see the beret. It just sort of sits on the top of your head, just perching there.
Yeah.
And you got to like wet it and just sit there for hours, just pulling it.
Really?
Over. Yeah, to get it fit properly. Because you see in the movies when they had the berets and they're just like out. Like
out that way.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's not how you wear it. That's how you wear it.
So how many, before we go on the next part, how many people actually made it out of 5,000?
So out of the 5,000, there was 7 of us.
7 left?
Yeah, so including me. So
including
6 other guys.
6 other guys, including you. So do they have a celebration at the end or they just give you a hat and say good on you?
CEO gives you a beret and
it's like, and that's it.
Get into it. Start getting ready to go to war.
And did you start getting ready to go to war? You just been through war. It was like, but did you? The feeling, was it what you thought it would be?
It was, but it was also.
Was it just the next step?
Yeah, I guess it was the next step. Yeah, it was like looking. Okay, now I've got to get overseas.
Wow.
And deploy.
So did you fly out straight after that, or?
No, when was it? It probably would have been about half a year later, I think. So I was the second deployment to Afghanistan when it started back up again.
Mm-hmm.
And that was with Bravo company. So we did that. We're over there for 5 months. And then I came back again, got moved over to Alpha company. And then I went back again in 2007. And that's when I got wounded. And then came back, had 6 months rehab, and then deployed again for my 3rd tour. And I was the first person to redeploy after getting wounded in action.
So you didn't quit after even getting wounded? You just didn't say, "Oh, that's me."
I'm get back over there.
Yeah, wow. Why was that? Like, was that you just felt like you belonged there?
Yeah. And you don't like. It's you hear people talk about camaraderie and all that. It's a very serious thing in the army. You do like once you fight alongside these guys, it's a different kind of brotherhood. and I just couldn't picture the guys going over there without me. And, I had to be there next to them to have their back. So that's really important.
You were that connected to what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And is there so when you say 3 times, you come home and then you go back and then come home. So did you like civilian life? Like, you didn't like it. You just liked being special forces. Yeah. And in the army with the berets, do they treat you any different because there's so few of you?
Yeah, usually you find there's people who really love special forces and respect you, and then you get the real regimented older soldiers who probably maybe never made it into special forces or failed or just didn't have the gumption to get in, and they sort of look at you like a cowboy.
Do they?
Yeah, because we're walking around with beards. I had longer hair than what I do now. You don't wear cams. You just I look like this basically.
Really?
Yeah. So you try to blend in.
So what do special forces do? Like, when you're over there, do they send you on different missions or?
Yeah, our missions are kill, capture, high value targets. So either on downtime, we would drive around the country just looking for a fight. Just wait for someone to shoot at us.
Gee.
Yeah, and or you get intel come down of where, say, like a Taliban leader, a commander is, and you'd fly in and you'd just go and kill them.
Gee. So go home, watch telly.
Yeah. Go back watch Netflix or whatever.
So what was the best experience over in Afghanistan? There's probably many, but what was one of them?
On my first tour, I was attached to American Green Beret team. So it was just myself. They said, I want you to hook up with these American guys and you're going to keep an eye on the Saudi Arabian Special Forces. They've just come over. So they wanted me to sort of just check them out and report back on what they're like. So we drove around the country. So it was myself and these 5 American Green Berets in 3 Humvees, and then the Saudi Special Forces. That was a really fun experience, just sort of being embedded with an American unit like that, and just myself.
What were they like? Were they?
Yeah, they were cool. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I had to speak with an American accent because they couldn't understand.
Really?
Yeah.
And what was the worst experience?
Worst experience, probably when I nearly had to protect our team against a child suicide bomber.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't know. There was intel of the United Nations gave out these packages with little radios, and they're wind up with a magneto and all the perfect ingredients to make a homemade bomb. And apparently they were getting kids to walk around these radios strapped with explosives. They'd wind it up and boom, off they go and take out teams. So there was one little kid who was a goat farmer. He was walking up to us, winding his radio, and I thought he was about to detonate.
Did you have to kill him?
No, I didn't have to kill him, thankfully.
Yeah.
So many things go through your head at that point.
I bet.
Yeah, that was hard.
So talk to me about fear.
Yeah.
So fear, it paralyzes a lot of people, including myself, at different times. And you've had to push through a lot of fear, I'd imagine. Like, it sounds like you're pretty keen to sort of get into these different situations, but you must have had some level of fear as well along the way. How do you manage that? I know your vision and all that sort of stuff, but because it can stop people doing stuff. Like, for instance, door knocking in real estate. I know it's not, chasing suicide bombers in Afghanistan, but it actually is one of the key ingredients of our job. Yeah. But people don't do it because they're scared of what people will say on the other side of the door.
Yeah, 100%. As I said, my fear is public speaking.
Yeah.
But the Army did a really good job of getting fear out of you through training and repetition.
Right.
So
building confidence?
Building confidence in your skills.
Doing it over and over again.
Over and over again, yeah. So I remember my first contact I got into, and I was getting shot at, and the worst is probably not bullets actually flying at you, it's ricochets.
Really?
Yeah, because they hit, and they'll just go off in random places. So if you can see they're shooting at you and missing you, that's fine. But when ricochets hit a rock or something, they come off. And I remember, so that was my first tour, first contact I got into, and you got no armour on you or anything, and I'm standing up the highest because I was on the gun turret, and there's just ricochets bouncing all over my head, and your instinct is to get behind and have a nice big bit of metal protecting you, but I didn't. I stood up there, just exposed my whole body, and went through my drills, just shooting, reloading.
Really?
Yeah. You think of your drills, and it sort of pushes all that fear away.
Yeah, right. So if someone's got a fear, is that about practicing it, or is it role playing, or is it like?
I would say,
or just doing it.
Yeah, I do sequence. I do practicing it, then role playing.
Yeah. And
then giving them a comfortable situation where they can do live drilling.
Yeah. And then
into it.
Into it. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. So what's the biggest lesson you've learned out of all of this? You've achieved what you want to achieve since you had a picture of it since you were a kid, which is impressive. So you stuck to that. You achieved something that, 0.0001% of the world ever do. You've come back to normal life. Was it hard to adjust to normal life again?
Yeah, that was hard.
It was hard?
Yeah.
You're married with kids now?
Yeah, I got 2 sons.
Yeah.
Married. I actually...
Are you a tough dad?
Yeah.
Are you like one of those army sergeant dads?
I'm not regimented.
No.
No. So I'm definitely not the normal army person you see.
Yeah. When I learnt you were like SAS before years ago, I was like, what the hell? Really? Gee. Because you're so like unassuming. I mean, you're a big guy and you're fit. You do a lot of Taekwondo now?
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah, like you obviously maintained your fitness and all that, but it's like you're just so humble.
Yeah, I think you'd find a lot of the guys are like that because we don't have anything to prove anymore. We know what we can do.
Yeah.
And when you see, guys at the pub or something, and they're trying to puff themselves up and beat people up, they're the ones who don't have to be afraid of.
Yeah.
They don't have confidence. They're insecure.
Yeah.
They most definitely can't fight. So that's what you'll find with martial artists and that. They're really like some of the most nicest guys you meet, and you look at them, you go, I'm not afraid of them, but they're actually the ones you should be afraid of.
What's the biggest lesson you've learned out of all of this? Like looking back,
when you're doing something that you think is really hard at the time, you look back on it and realise it wasn't as hard as what you thought it was at the time.
Would you have done anything different?
No.
No?
I think...
Pretty happy with...
Yeah, I'm happy with
what
how
happened?
it all played out,
Yeah. And now, like, you're what do you do for work, or you're house dad now?
Yeah, I've got 2 sons.
Yeah.
Obviously, I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
I help coach when my sons do that as well.
Yeah.
And I like restoring vintage cars.
Do you?
A few Chevrolets.
No way. I love Chevs. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You have to take me for a drive.
Yeah, I'll bring it around. And I've got an old 1915 Indian.
Have you?
Motorbike I'm about to restore. So
that's awesome.
Love all that stuff.
So I'll end in a sec. So if there's young, I say young because it's tricky out there in the world, and I know to say it's like it won't be as bad looking back. But if someone's struggling right now, and they're listening to this going, this has given me a bit of inspiration or whatever, but they're finding it hard to even get results at work or whatever, is there anything else you'd say to them? I understand it'll change and all that sort of stuff, but those times when you have to dig deep, was there any specific thing that you did to help yourself keep going, even when you're dragging yourself along the ground?
Just picture what you want in life.
Yeah.
And just make it happen.
Yeah. I think that's the best advice from this whole thing. really. And like I've even taken a bit from that as well. Any questions, Broccoli, while I'm here with Green Beret?
The other last one, obviously the fear of like getting shot at is totally different fear to public speaking and door knocking in a way, because when you're getting shot at, it's either life or death, way worse. But then the fear of public speaking is maybe what people think of you.
Yeah.
What is your advice to people that are out there and having to deal with like door knocking and they're scared of what people think or what their social image is? When in reality, it doesn't matter because you're not getting shot at, you're not going to die.
Well, it's something you struggle. Let's talk about that, because you struggle with that one thing, public speaking.
Yeah.
Is it because of? So I think it's a good question, Broccoli. Is it because you don't like the limelight or you don't like the attention?
That's what I was about to say.
Right.
Being in the limelight, and probably something that I never really practiced. That's why I think that drilling would be good.
Yeah.
So it's more just like getting out there and doing it over and over again, and then you become less afraid of it.
I think it would be, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, that's awesome. Any future goals you got, or apart from riding your Indian around?
Just building my chefs. Getting to black belt level.
Really?
Jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
They're probably the short-term goals.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Anything else?
Scariest moment you ever had over there, like personally?
Scariest moment.
Was it the one, were you listening? Was it the one with the child bomber?
But scariest moment for you personally?
Yeah, what is the scariest moment in your life? Because you've probably experienced a lot more than most people.
Yeah.
Doing a podcast with Matt and Broccoli.
That's up there, yeah. It's sort of funny, like, if I look back on it, I should have been scared at these times, but at the time I wasn't. I remember on my first tour, I was a minesweeper, and I actually asked if I could do that because I wanted to be up the front looking for mines.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think, there's two things, but how do you manage nerves? How do you manage nerves? Like, do you have to be a bit crazy? Are you a bit crazy?
I think back then I was, I think now with age comes a bit more wisdom.
Yeah. But how do you manage nerves? Like, is it, in those minesweepers, so you walk out in the front of the tank or whatever and sweep the mines or something, do you?
See, I don't think I was nervous.
Really?
Doing that.
Wow.
That's the thing. And there was another time when, do you know what tunnel rats are? They used to have them back in Vietnam.
No.
So the Viet Cong used to dig tunnels underground, and you'd basically crawl in there and you'd go and look for the soldiers underneath, and they put booby traps and all that.
Wow.
So
Did you do that as well?
Yeah, I found a couple of tunnels over there, and I was like, yeah, let me do that, because like I said, I was a big history buff, and I read all about the tunnels.
Yeah.
So, you pull out a torch and pistol, and you crawl through the tunnel looking for stuff. And,
Is it true they have those big spiders over there?
yeah, camel spot.
Those massive spiders? Are they dangerous?
I think if you're probably dead.
Well, I mean, dangerous is probably different what we think is dangerous than you do, obviously. Like,
I don't think they're that dangerous to humans.
Okay.
I saw a couple. I wasn't. Yeah.
they're big.
Yeah.
Sorry, I jumped in. Yeah.
No, that's all right.
Yeah. So managing nerves is just something like you just either excited or nervous, I guess. It sounds like you were excited.
I was excited, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Nerves, probably more nerves jumping out of the plane.
Really?
Because I don't particularly like heights, but I'll do it. So like we had to fast rope out of Black Hawks and jump off buildings and all that stuff.
Were you, when you were doing it, were you like, oh, this is what I've dreamed of my whole life?
Yeah.
Were you?
Yeah.
Was it a bit surreal?
Yeah, very surreal.
Yeah.
And that sort of gives you a bit more energy to push through it.
Yeah. So I reckon this whole thing has been about you were so fixed on your vision that nothing was going to stop you getting there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Would that be right, you think?
Yeah, 100% correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No matter the pain, no matter the anxiety, no matter the challenge, no matter anything, the power of that vision overrid everything, but it also gave you energy by the sound of it. It also gave you like not unlimited, but a resource that I think people obviously just maybe don't have a big enough purpose.
Yeah, that's right.
Your purpose was so big that it was the driver.
And I think that's actually a big problem with veterans at the moment. They get out of the military and they don't have a purpose anymore. There's no mission. So I think I've sort of been able to transition out of that a bit better, is because I always gave myself a goal. So I moved to Thailand for 4 years. I learnt Thai language. I went to uni there. Then I started working on cars.
You went to uni after the military?
Yeah.
What did you study?
Thai language.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And I was going to work over in the embassy in Bangkok, but my wife and I had our first son, and I was like, I'll come back to Australia. It's a bit better life. So,
yeah. So do you struggle with purpose now, or is it like, obviously it's pretty vanilla out there compared to what you were doing? Like, are there times when you sort of like, I'd rather be jumping out of the Black Hawk helicopter?
When I see my mates and stuff they're doing, there's a bit of regret of getting out.
The ones that are they still in it?
Yeah, some that's still in,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
How old are you now?
38.
38, yeah. Okay. So, purpose now? Like, do you feel like you're just making the best of life compared to what it was?
Yeah, and as I said, giving myself short-term goals. Like obviously I've got to look after my boys. They're priority now. Get them from school. Make sure they're best kids they can be. Teach them. Get to my black belt, jiu-jitsu. And I've always been a farmer, so I love farming at home. So that keeps me pretty busy.
Yeah.
It's
pretty exciting watching the cucumbers grow.
It is. Yeah.
Oh, mate, that's awesome. Mate, this has been a great interview. So,
that's good.
Yeah, thank you. There's going to be lots of questions, so if you don't mind, I might shoot you a text or two if there's some. Because I bet you there's many young people listening to this, and maybe older people, but a little bit lost, but it sounds like this might help them a little bit. So I appreciate it.
No, my pleasure.
Thanks.
For having me.
Thanks, Chad.